Oh, affirmations. Let's get to the bottom of this, huh? There's so much bullshit online and in general in this space about using affirmations. And it still just blows me away how few people really get to like the psychological heart of it quickly and succinctly, because the truth of the matter, guys, is this stuff's been explored pretty well, especially in the psychological field. Certainly, you could say in the metaphysical field. And I just feel like I personally get contacted way too much from people asking me what affirmation should I use. And that generally, it means one of two things. First of all, it might mean the person just is still relatively new to this stuff, which is totally fine. If that's the case, I'm going to refer them to Emile Coué, who is probably the greatest teacher of affirmations, or as he liked to call them, conscious autosuggestions. They're the same thing. Probably the greatest teacher of affirmations of the last 150 years. Now, if they're not new and they're asking me what affirmation they should use, I'm probably going to refer them to Emile Coué, who's the best affirmations teacher of the last 150 years. Guys, do you see the point? Do you see the point? For those of you who don't know, I edited a book of Coué's teachings back in 2017 called Simple Self-Healing. The link to that will be below in the description. Guys, there's answers for this stuff. The problem is you're not going to the right sources. Most of the best advice about using conscious autosuggestion, aka affirmations, in my opinion, practically speaking, comes from Emile Coué and the people who were directly associated, to him, right? And then you've got wonderful teachers like Joseph Murphy, who talks about affirmations really well, who was directly influenced by Emile Coué. So those of you who are just, watching or reading newer teachers are missing a lot by not simply referring to Coué. And listen, if you don't want to read Coué, there's audiobook versions online, and something maybe even better, Papa Bear Tim, link above and in the description, over 100 videos talking about Emile Coué, including in-depth explanations of how to use affirmations and autosuggestion. This is the thing that most of you perhaps don't understand who are into affirmations. They don't work like a magic pill. And the idea that you have to say the same thing over and over again, day after day, week after week, month after month, is absurd. It becomes far too mechanical when we do that. And there is something to affirming something mechanically, so-called robotic affirming. That's legitimate. But the reason that robotic affirming works, the reason that Coué sometimes describes this process as being mechanical, is because of the hypnotic nature of it. Where if you say something enough, it lulls you into a hypnotic state, which then makes you more expectant. It makes you accept what you are suggesting or are affirming to yourself more easily. So it hits, right? But the deeper point here, and that's a deep point, but another deep point that I think a lot of you still struggle with is that it does not matter what you say. It is the spirit in which you say it, the belief, the expectancy, the faith you have in what you are saying, or the sincerity, you could say, that is so significant. I'm going to read a passage talking about exactly that. Every one of you who's interested in self-mastery in affirmation should read Self-Mastery Through Conscious Autosuggestion by Emile Coué. And like I said, you should just study Coué, in my opinion. Another book that's great that many of you would hugely benefit in referring to is Christianity and Autosuggestion by C. Harry Brooks and Ernest Charles. C. Harry Brooks, Cyrus Harry Brooks, wrote The Practice of Autosuggestion, which is a much more famous book than Christianity and Autosuggestion. Christianity and Autosuggestion, if you get into this stuff seriously, is a better book than The Practice of Autosuggestion. It's also, I mean, it's just one of the best LOA books ever written. That's what it comes down to. There's so much mystical and religious language associated with LOA, you know, Neville Murphy, Catherine Ponder, Emmett Fox, the list goes on. Those are the good examples. And there's plenty of bad examples we could give too. There's so much religious language and associating affirmations and decreeing with like religious language. And Brooks and Charles and Christianity and Autosuggestion strip it down so much more effectively than any of those aforementioned teachers. That's a big claim that I just made, and I'm standing by it. And don't get me wrong, like I love how Catherine Ponder or Joseph Murphy talks about affirmations. But you're going to understand the psychology, and this shit's going to probably work better for you if you read and study Christianity and Autosuggestion. And I know some of you are going to be like, well, I don't want to read and study Christianity and Autosuggestion. And I'd say, sorry, you're not serious enough about this stuff. I don't want to do the work, but I want to get what I want, but I don't want to do the work. That's the problem with this LOA space so much of the time. It's people wanting something for free, expecting that LOA is going to make it so they can manifest something without doing the work. And listen, I like being lazy. I like being simple. I like, you know, minimizing the amount of work I have to do. And these teachings will help you with that. But you have to commit to doing the work on some level. So you do not have to read and study Christianity and Autosuggestion, but you're going to have to do something along similar lines. And Christianity and Autosuggestion, I'm just telling you right now, if you're serious about this stuff, it's going to blow your fucking mind. But people want to just robotically affirm for a couple of weeks and get what they want. And when it doesn't happen, they wonder why. It's because it's not getting deep enough. This is an excerpt from Christianity and Autosuggestion, just talking about the flexibility we have in terms of what we are affirming or consciously autosuggesting to yourself. Because, you know, you could say one criticism one can make of Coué is that he made the process seem too easy and too simple. And he was saying that one should basically recite the phrase every day in every way. I'm getting better and better every day, you know, in the morning and evening. And the reality is that's far too mechanical long-term for most of us. That phrase will lose its resonance if you do that, in all likelihood. You probably need to switch up what you say if you're into affirmations. You probably have to, you know, be more flexible. Brooks and Charles right here, we see then that the choice of a religious formula admits of almost infinite variety. By religious formula, they mean like what you say. An almost infinite variety of choices for what you affirm. We are free to choose any formula, aka affirmation, from the simple phrase of Coué, every day and every way I'm getting better and better. It can be prefaced by a short prayer to an expression of the holiest and deepest yearning to share in the nature and spirit of Christ, meaning like by the power of God, every day and every way I'm getting better and better. Or, you know, they go on to say we can do whatever we want, whatever makes sense. They say, how are we to be guided in our choice? We must remember that the formula is a prayer. Autosuggestion, guys, is a prayer. It's a form of prayer. Affirmations are a form of prayer. They say a prayer in the structure of which faith is organically expressed. Let me say that again. A prayer in the structure of which faith is organically expressed. An affirmation, guys, is a prayer in the structure of which faith is organically expressed. And since this is so, we can and must expect a response, for by rightly seeking we shall find. But the certainty of a response depends upon one condition. We must be absolutely sincere. Oof. Oh my gosh, that paragraph is better than 100 of your favorite YouTubers talking about affirmations and what to say. Your affirmation, what you're saying in and of itself doesn't matter. What's important is the condition in which we say it. Expecting a response, the certainty of a response depends upon one condition. We must be absolutely sincere. And we can't force this sincerity, because as Coué masterfully talks about, if we're forcing something, we're using our willpower. And if it's antagonistic to our imagination, it's not going to happen. We must sincerely expect something and let our imagination accept that sincerity, as it will gradually. By rightly seeking, we shall find. And that is why a phrase like every day in every way, I'm getting better and better, works so effectively, is because there's not much antagonism against it. Most of us in some way can get behind the idea of, I'm getting better. I'm getting better. Things are improving. You don't have to know how, but it's easy to get behind the statement. The key is getting behind the statement. Right? They say here, if the affirmation runs counter to any powerful unconscious wish, in other words, if imaginatively we think something cannot happen, there is a danger that it will be rejected by the unconscious or the imagination, and so fail us of our aim. Again, I've made numerous videos about this. Coué and people like Cyrus Harry Brooks have written so eloquently about it. Guys, the information's right here. It's right here. If you need personal help, if you need coaching, you know where to find me. Link is in the description. It's right here, guys, the information. You just have to go to the good sources. Emile Coué helped cure tens of thousands of people. That is not an exaggeration. You just have to go to the source and look, right? I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying it's available, right? And most of the folks talking about it today don't know about this. It's absurd. The fact that people are teaching you affirmations and don't know who Emile Coué is fucking insane. All right? I'm putting the Coué playlist below. Until next time, be good.